fine. So
Okay, I think we're on air. Pause. So, all right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, listeners. You're listening to KRUI 89.7 FM. My name is Aman, the news director here at KRUI. This is my co-host Lachlan Costabil.
Yeah, got it right. Glad to be here.
And today we're going to be sitting down for an interview with the University of Iowa's own Luciano De Castro. Mr. Castro, welcome to KRUI Studios.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Short intro. Luciano is the interim director for the Center of Intellectual Freedom. He's a professor of economics at the University of Iowa Tippie College of Business. Previously, he has been an assistant professor at Northwestern University and the University of Illinois, and a visiting professor at Charles III University of Madrid. His main fields of research are economic theory, energy politics, and Brazil's political economy and electricity markets. Luciano has been published in multiple prestigious academic journals and recently has been investigating the properties and applications of decision theory in economics. All right, let's jump into your role at the Center of Intellectual Freedom. So how did you come to get involved with the center, and what opportunities drew you to it?
Well, there's actually two separate questions, right? First, how I was involved. This actually started in 2024. I was giving a talk in George Mason University with a colleague. I had a dinner with a faculty there, and during this dinner, he said to me, "Oh, you have to." We start to talk about a lot of different things about universities and his research and my research, and at some point during the dinner, this professor, Dan Klein, he actually said, "Oh, you know what? You have to talk with David Barker. Wait a minute." And then he called David Barker, who was a regent at the University of the Board of Regents here in Iowa. He called him during the dinner and said, "David, you have to talk with Luciano." And then passed the phone to me, and I started talking with David. So this was the first contact with Regent Barker. Now he's Assistant Secretary for Post-Secondary Education in the U.S. in the Trump administration. But at the time, he was a regent. And this was our first connection, and we started discussing right there the idea that had been followed by other universities of creating centers of civic thought and civic leadership. And we thought that this would be a good thing to do here also in the University of Iowa. And after that, we had multiple conversations, and I traveled to Des Moines and talked with legislators. I reported back to the university administrators, and I started to collaborate and say to support the idea that was actually by the legislators. They had the same idea independently of me or Regent Barker. And they were going to propose the bill that ultimately created the center. But I was supportive of this bill from the beginning, and I even went to Des Moines to a hearing of the House Committee for Education to express my opinion as a citizen that this would be a good idea and a good addition to the University of Iowa, for the benefit, actually, of the students of the University of Iowa. And this is how I got involved. Mm-hmm. So now if you want to repeat the second question.
What opportunities at the center drew you in?
So as I said, the main idea is to create, or the main motivation is to create courses for the students of the University of Iowa that do not exist. And I can speak for this. So you can say, well, but we already have a course on history, or you have course on government. And that's true. But the perspective that you can offer in the center is new. And I can even point out to a specific course, and I mentioned this during my hearing. So a few years ago, as you said, I am professor of economics. I teach in the Tippie College of Business. And a few years ago, I was asked to propose a set of courses, a list of possible courses to be offered to students. And this would be just a survey to go to students to ask if they would be interested in these courses. And one of the courses that I proposed was one about political institutions and capitalism in the United States. The title was not exactly this, but it combined two aspects, the political aspects and also the capitalism. And if you look right now, right now it has changed because of the Center for Intellectual Freedom. But until the last semester, all courses that had capitalism in their syllabus or in the description of the course would have a negative aspect or negative view of capitalism. But if you look at around the world in history and even the countries right now that exist right now, the most developed countries are capitalist countries. And capitalism is what brings a lot of wealth to societies. So I proposed the course with the idea of offering the students the opportunity to reflect and to learn about why capitalism works. And to my surprise, the course was not even included in the survey for the students to have the opportunity to express their willingness to take this course. So the course was not even created, it was not even asked of the students if they would be interested. So the center, going back, why we exist and why we create something new. We are bringing opportunities for students that do not exist in the form of courses, new courses with a different perspective that I would say that's very enriching in the from an intellectual point of view.
I'm glad you brought up why the center exists, because for those at home who might not know, this was the result of recent legislation. I actually have the House bill here, and I just want to read it out briefly. The center shall provide scholarship in the following subjects: the texts and major debates that form the intellectual foundation of free societies, especially that of the United States, and the principles, ideals, and institutions of the American constitutional order. And this is just really interesting to me because I'm curious, what is your or the center's perspective on that, on those clauses? Like, what are the principles and ideals of the American identity that the center is trying to promote?
Well, there are, the way that I describe this is appealing to some ideas of the philosopher Michael Novak. It turns out that he is actually connected to Iowa also. He was married to Iowa. And I believe that he still has family here. He's passed away, but in any case, he was a brilliant philosopher. And one concept that he describes and studies very deeply is democratic capitalism, which is the system that we have here in the U.S., but also in other Western countries. So the bill, the way that I interpret the bill, and I believe that this bill actually will be revised and is in discussion right now for revisions, but the way that I interpret the value of understanding the constitutional values and the way that our society, the society in the United States was created, is actually through this lens, to understand how our society is organized in three pillars. One is the economic pillar, it's capitalism that I was referring to a brief moment ago. The other one is the political system, that is the organization of the institutions of the U.S. that was created by the founding fathers and incorporated in the Constitution of the United States. And the third part, and the third pillar, is exactly the culture, the values that make the culture of the American society. These three systems work together and they depend with each other. So, for instance, one of the values that we have here in the United States is freedom, freedom of expression, but more generally freedom. And for freedom to exist in a country, you have to have capitalism. And for capitalism to work, you also have to have freedom, but you also have to have values. So these three parts work together. So going deeper, and the way that I understand this bill is exactly to provide opportunity to understand why this system works so well, and it indeed works very well. I didn't have the privilege to be born here in the U.S. I was born in Brazil, and I have lived in Europe, and I know a lot of countries in Latin America, and I can tell you the system that we have here in the United States, since now I am American also, but American from choice, right? Because I actually love this country because of the values that it represents and all the environment for individuals to thrive, and it's unique in the world, and it's much better than systems that have been attempted in other countries. And I know, for personal and direct experience, that attempts to propose alternatives that, in the views of some intellectuals, is superior. In reality, they are not. And understanding these things is to understand why the system that we have here works so well. It's not perfect because it's exists in the real world, but it's much better than the ones that have been attempted so far.
So your program is the center of your program is offering courses to students. Can you walk us through a general overview of those courses and the team you've put together to teach those lessons?
Okay, sure. So we organized 2 courses. They will start on the second half of the spring semester, just after the spring break. One would be on Tuesday evenings, and the other one would be on Thursday evenings, both of them 6:30 to 8:20, I believe. They will be one semester hour course, so there will be 7 lectures in each course, running for 110 minutes. And each week there will be a different professor talking about a different course. And I'm going to mention some of the professors. Some of them students of I may know, because I also went for very good professors in the political science department, the philosophy department. But before that, I want to highlight, and one thing that I asked for everyone when I was inviting them to give a lecture. I asked them to think about what's the topic that related to the titles of the course. The 2 titles are political and economic institutions in the United States. This is the Tuesday course. And American culture and values. This is the Thursday course. As you can see, these topics, these are just 2 courses, but they touch upon the 3 systems that I mentioned before, right? The economical, the political, and the cultural aspects that make up the democratic capitalism that I mentioned. So I asked the professors of each of these courses to think about one topic that they could conduct that would be the most thought-provoking, interesting, and intellectually enriching for students. And this is the overall orientation for the lectures. And I believe that the set of lectures is very nice. I'm proud of being able to get these lectures together. And I believe that will be really a very interesting experience for students. The course would be just a pass-fail, actually a satisfactory and unsatisfactory, so it doesn't count for your GPA. But it is a credit, 1 semester hour for each course. And we have so I don't have in front of me the complete list, but just from memory here, Professor Tim Hagel from the political science department is one. Alexis Smith is another professor. So these are the 2 that are in the political science department, the political and economic institution course. We have then Stephen Balch was the founder of the National Association of Scholars, a very brilliant political scientist. We have Reynold Kramers, CEO of Fireway. So we'll have it. So our students will have the opportunity to interact with the CEO. By the way, Reynolds is also part or member of our advisory council, the advisory council of the Center for Intellectual Freedom. And we will have also former Congressman Greg Gansky, who served in the House a few years ago, and he will bring his experience. Actually, I'm looking forward to all of the lectures, but specifically his one. He will try to connect his experience with previous midterm elections and how this would reflect the coming midterm election that everybody is interested in knowing what will happen, right? So this is the political and economic institutions. So one aspect of the economic institution is actually Reinhard Kramers, the CEO of Fairway, that will talk about this aspect, and I think that will be really interesting. So the other course, the American Culture and Values, which is the Thursday course, also have some of the, so Professor Tim Hengel and Alex Smith also professors there, but we also have Professor Richard Fumerton, who is in the philosophy department. And there are a few other invitees, but one of them, the last lecture is by Mike Whalen, who is also the CEO of the Headland Group, right? And the title of his lecture is actually very interesting, is Why Capitalism Rocks. And he suggested, and he asked actually to put the title of the lecture exactly like this. It's not a question mark, it's an exclamation mark. Why Capitalism Rocks. So in some sense, this course realized my dream now of proposing something that discusses why capitalism works. It's more than works. Mike Whalen will talk about how capitalism rocks. So I think that will be a very interesting experience for students, and I hope that your audience they are welcome to join the course, and I think that it will be a very interesting experience.
Can you talk more about, because you've name dropped some pretty big names, Greg Gansky, Reynolds Kramer, et cetera. What was the process like to get those people involved?
Oh, yeah. Well, the primary process was exactly to draw from the advisory council, our advisory council, which is actually made of very important names, not only from Iowa, right, the ones that I mentioned, and if you look at the website of the Center for Intellectual Freedom, you're going to find our advisory council. This is one of the things that we're able to do last semester. And this is one of the things that I'm very proud of, being able to recruit this set of people to be in the advisory council. So we have 13 influential people in Iowa. So these, some of them, I have invited all the people that for personal reasons were not able to join us. But besides the people from Iowa, we also have 13 scholars from very good universities in the country. Actually, out of these 13, 7 are from top universities. So 2 from Stanford, 2 from Chicago, 2 from Princeton, and 1 from Northwestern. And so the majority of our scholar committee in the advisory council is made of professors from very important universities. And all of them, the other ones, are also very good scholars in other very important universities. So this is an accomplishment, and it's a value added to the University of Iowa, for you, the students of Iowa, and for the people of Iowa. Why? Because the moment that we bring these people to be behind our center and to support our center, they are helping us to build academic reputation. And I'm in the academic world for a long time. I know perhaps in a more closer experience than you have as students. But academic reputation is something that's very hard to get. It's very hard to achieve. And one way that you do this is with connections, direct connections with people with their academic reputation already established. And this is what we're trying to do. So the moment that people look at the website and want to see what the Center for Intellectual Freedom is about, they look at the website, look at the advisory council, see who are the people that are supporting the center, and see these scholars. They say, "Wow, this is a serious academic enterprise," and it is a serious academic enterprise. So one of them then that I would add actually in this set of lectures is Mark Bauerlein. I didn't mention before, but he's also in the American Culture and Values course. And he would be a lecturer teaching. So he's an emeritus professor from Emory University and also trustee in a college in Florida. And he's also part of the advisory council. And I received actually emails from people that know his work and admirers of his work, and asked, "Can I join for his lecture because so important, I admire his work." So this is the kind of things that we have there. And I didn't mention all the names in our course, but I really believe that it will be an interesting experience. And I have to add, since the course is just pass to fail, the workload for students is low, right? The course is low. So I think that it's something that is very attractive for students.
Shifting gears a little bit, in a recent televised interview at PBS Iowa, you and Christine Hensley mentioned that this center, interestingly, doesn't answer to the university. It answers to the Board of Regents. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
So what has that relationship been like between the university, the center, and the Board of Regents?
Well, so one of the things that we have been doing in this semester after the inaugural event was exactly to connect with all these centers. And one of the things that I've been asking a lot of the centers that are similar centers that similar to our center. And I have been asking all the centers. Of course, there are 45 of these centers, according to a report by Heterodox Academy last fall. But none of these centers have this organization as we have, that is to report directly to the Board of Regents. Most of the centers either report to a dean of a college, maybe the College of Liberal Arts and Science, very usually, but not necessarily. Some of them are actually schools, so their directors are deans, so in some sense, and they then report to the provost. Up to now, I may be wrong because I didn't revise every single one of these all centers, but I have been asking a lot of people, and nobody knows yet another center like ours that reports directly to the Board of Regents. So I'm an economics professor, and I kind of one of the things that you're going to see economists saying a lot is there are trade-offs, right? In everything that you do, there are trade-offs. One good thing about this organization is the fact that it gives us a lot of flexibility. We do not need to follow the hierarchical structure in the university. And even the policy, we have some freedom to create our own policy because, in principle, we are not subordinated to a structure and even the policies of the university. So the flexibility is really very nice. But then, as I said, there are trade-offs. Right? The other aspect is that somehow it creates some difficulties when we are dealing with the other parts of the university because we need collaboration from them, right? And since we are unique, it's unique not only here in this campus, but unique in the country, I would say. Nobody knows exactly how navigate these things. And we're trying to find out. We try to develop friends. Actually, one of the things that I value a lot is exactly when I find someone in the campus that's willing to collaborate with us, and I say, look, I want to show my gratitude to everyone that helps us, because at the end of the day, I mean, I'm doing this only because I believe that's important. It's something good, not exactly for me. It's good for the students of Iowa. It's good for the people of Iowa, and more broadly, even to the country, because we are creating something that will make the intellectual environment better. And I believe that this is a good thing to do. And then I want to get allies to help us to succeed in this task.
How would you characterize the university's reception to the creation of your program? Has it been warm or has it been kind of cold?
So I had a few surprises. One of the, actually, I'll begin with this. My biggest surprise. My biggest surprise is from you guys, from the students, because you don't know that the center exists. And maybe you think, oh, okay, so the students don't know. But this was a surprise to me, because before actually starting the interaction with students, I had another surprise, which was the fact that the faculty and the employees in the university are very aware of the existence of the center. So it was a very distinct perception. When you talk about faculty, they know that the center exists and that the center was created. You go to talk with the students and they have never heard about the center, which is a very interesting difference. I think that would be the biggest surprise that I found in the reaction to the center.
Do you have a theory for why students are so unaware?
Well, maybe I should ask you guys, but I think that you are connected. So the aspects of the generations is very different, right? So the older folks, like the faculty and the employees in the university, they read the traditional journals, right? The newspapers, and see they are following news about the creation of the center that coming up in the Gazette, the Iowa Capital Dispatch, all the newspapers in Iowa. But I believe that you guys don't, right? You are following pretty much more social media and this kind of thing. And maybe the center was not showing up in these social medias as they should. I have just to tell you that I tried actually to do this from the beginning. It was in my plan from go back to July, actually, before I even was appointed director. I wanted to do this, and I tried. I hired someone to develop our course, but together to also go for social media, and then for reasons that I'm not going to, didn't work very well. Then I found a second company to do our social media and marketing, and for the reason that I'm not going to, also didn't work. So, and all in all of this process, we're not working and losing some time, and that's the reason why we're not able to create very important presence in social media, so that I could get to you guys, to the students, because the path to get the attention for students is different. This is the surprise of me that I got from last semester. But now we have hired a market company to help us to get to the social media. Of course, I'm not I'm a professor of economics. I don't operate social media. I don't know how to do. And for me, it's something different from what I'm used to do day to day. This is why we need some help. And but we got this now, and it's in place, and we're trying to get to the students.
It may have been in that same PBS interview you mentioned, but last December, you noted that these courses weren't mandatory.
Yes.
And I think you specifically stated our offerings are just an additional choice for students.
Yes.
From my understanding, there's new legislation advancing out of subcommittee that could affect the university's civic requirements. Does the university or does the center intend to play a role in making these courses mandatory?
Oh, that's a very good question, and it's a good observation. Indeed, my point in that interview was exactly to say, and exactly when I said this phrase about the characterization of the courses, it got together with observation, which is to be against the center is to be against a choice of students. Nobody is obligated to take the courses. And the question that I asked in that interview is, do you think that's reasonable to forbid a student to take a course like the one that I'm describing, right? Is it reasonable to forbid a student of the University of Iowa from taking a course, understand why capitalism works? Do you think that is reasonable? And that's exactly the context of my answer or the comment that I made in that interview. But one of the things that the law requires us to do is to do a market assessment of demand for courses. And we started operating or working on this in January after our inaugural event last December. So, and I have been able to connect with a lot of centers and to understand something that, in some sense, it's not. It was not part of my day-to-day experience here, but all of the centers that we contacted, the directors of the center or the people in charge of the centers, we emphasize it very much. First, that yes, there is demand. However, you have to understand how students make choices. So they come to the university to get the degree, so that after this degree, they'll get some job, right? And in the process of getting the job, one of the important characteristics is getting the major, the minor, the certificates that will differentiate them in the job market. So this means that the students coming from the university focus on getting these distinctions, that the majors, the minors, certificates, or satisfying the requirements for the degrees. And this is something that I heard from every single director that I talked to. If you are not part of something that will get value to the students, even maybe you find one or two students that goes just for the intellectual curiosity. But in a world that is so full of distractions and other things to do, students just don't have the time of pursuing the majors, minors, certificates that they want for graduation, and also taking the electives. So they emphasize that for this system to work, they have to belong to something more valuable to students. And this is one thing that I think will show up in our report that we're going to present.
So zooming out in a broader context,
yes,
centers like this are being formed all across the country. And I think it's safe to say they're pretty controversial because people are up in arms about them potentially being, Trojan horses for conservative ideology to enter college campuses.
Yes.
However, the center itself is widely publicized as being nonpartisan.
Yes.
So how exactly are you going to ensure that intellectual freedom and nonpartisanship exist in the center?
Well, that's also a very good question. And I try to emphasize this a lot in the PBS interview that you mentioned. The center is academic enterprise. The purpose is to achieve academic excellence in the topics that I described that relates in the way that I like to emphasize that relates to democratic capitalism and why democratic capitalism works. This is a system that we have here in the United States, have been very successful. But these, even as I said, it was something that was discussed by a lot of philosophers. Michael Novak is one of them. Hayek is another one that wrote brilliant texts about this and things that are really foundational. And when you take this approach, you see, well, there is academic effort or academic enterprise to be made to develop these ideas that support and help us to understand how this system works. Because it's not simple. This system is very complex. It's perhaps the most complex system that can exist, which because it's made of people that are already in themselves complex, right? So I would say that's an intellectual challenger to study this system. And this is what we want to bring, right, to the universities. I understand that they realize or they perceive this as ideological enterprise, just to, as you said, go counter. So you have the ideology of on the left ideology, and then we are going to bring the right ideology. It's not about that. It's academic enterprise. We have to study and go deeper in the foundations. And of course, this goes back to see how the system was formed, right? It was historically, so this is why the history plays a role. But it's important to understand the whole, all the aspects. And this is not about preaching students a view or the other. On the contrary, what we want is actually to form citizens that are able to think by themselves and not to be indoctrinated. So it's exactly the opposite of indoctrination. So I understand that's very hard for people to understand this, to realize that this is our attempt, but it is truly our attempt to do this, to set minds free, rather than indoctrinate them and put them in a cage.
Well, I don't know if it's totally unbiased. One of your lectures is titled "Why Capitalism Rocks" with an exclamation point. That seems a little ideological.
Well, so first of all, as I said, this was a suggestion by Mike Whalen, which is the lecturer. If you would ask me, this would not be my choice. Mm-hmm. And actually, this reminds me of one other thing. I received an email from someone in the university. Of course, I'll not tell the name, but asking why we don't have someone from the left in the set of lectures. Well, I didn't ask any of them their inclinations, but I actually did invite a former member of Congress, of the legislative power. I'm not going to get into too much details because then I reveal, it's not convenient. But I did invite people from the left. And unfortunately, one because of personal reasons, and another one because just declined without reason. I was not able to find people on the left willing to help the center, which is kind of a very interesting observation, right? And it's not restricted to the set of lectures. It's very hard to me. So I can tell you one other thing. One of the companies that we tried to hire declined to help us just because of alignment, political alignment, right? And I said, well, I'm not even asking you what's your political alignment, but what I'm finding is that very hard to find someone that's on the left that's willing to help the center. And I would be open to receive collaborations from anyone. But if I cannot find a lecturer on the left that's willing to cooperate and be part of our courses, so what can I do, right? But as I said, this topic would not be... I even had an interesting conversation with Mike when, look, Mike, I would not put the title as you put, but it's your choice. And I will not touch exactly to preserve the freedom.
One of the center's guiding principles is that courses should not focus on specific subgroups of Americans and other nationalities. Can you expand on what that means in practice?
You mean the new legislation?
I believe so. I believe it mentions that these courses shouldn't focus on specific subgroups of Americans. Quote.
I'm not completely sure. I'm not completely sure where you got this. Perhaps it's something that has been discussed. But when we follow the law, right, the bill that created the center. So first you have to realize one thing. Our political system, the way that the founding fathers invented and left us for us, right? And it put the foundations of our country. It put the states, a lot of power on the states, right? And the people of the states to have their will controlling the affairs, the public affairs. In the state of Iowa, and I mean each state, the will of the people is represented through their legislators. So the people elect their legislators. The legislators enact bills, laws, and once they are approved, also through passing through the governor, that's also elected by the people. The rest of us, including the officials in the University of Iowa, should follow the law, right? And when you look at the law that created the center, when it says I think it's like the spirit of the law, right? When you look at what's the American government that we have and the history of the Western civilization, the American civilization, it's talking about the majority of what characterized this country. When you look at, if you try to, and we can, of course, try to play, let's try to describe this the best way. If you try to bend the spirit of the law to include all the inclinations, not following what the will of the people manifested through the legislators is mandating. And I have no problem if the legislators approve something like, let's go for subgroups of America. Okay, that's fine. I mean, we have to follow the will of the people, if this is what they want, right? But we should follow the law and try to not only in a strict sense, but follow the spirit of the law.
I guess building off that, how much freedom do your professors have when designing their courses for the center?
Well, right now, these are the two courses that were created. I was the one designing the courses. So if you ask, do I have freedom to design the course? Yes, I do. Of course, as I just expressed, I try to follow the law. So what constrains me, of course, it's the objective of academic excellence, to try to provide something valuable for the students. But other than that, and obeying the spirit of the law, there is no restriction. And of course, this is a temporary factor. Going forward, we will have faculty, but this is still in the future.
Also, you had mentioned earlier that all of these courses are pretty much pass-fail and not that intensive. So is there a quality of academic rigor or like some sort of expectation that the center has to make it comparable to other departments, or is that not really a concern of yours?
Okay, so there are two aspects on this. I tried to hire faculty. I'm still teaching with the College of Business. All my teaching in the College of Business. So to offer courses as the law mandates that we should create courses. We need to hire faculty, but I was not able to hire. I tried, but I was not able to hire last semester. However, this it was an obstacle. I couldn't hire faculty. So what I tried to do, go around the obstacle to get to the objective, which is to offer courses, even without faculty. So what was my idea is to create a course that was a series of lectures. And this is why it was organized in this way. I think that there is a benefit to it, which is exactly the fact that it brings variety, right? Each week will be a different lecture, will be an interesting topic. I don't think that the fact that you don't have a exam to take makes the course less intellectually challenging. Perhaps it can even free the student from the pressure of studying for exam that you are going to forget the next day or the next week. And instead of focusing on the exam, maybe you are invited by your own curiosity and you have time to devote to actually read the text and go deeper without the pressure of performing in an exam. So that's the second time that I mentioned this, there are trade-offs, right? When you take out the pressure of exam, you may think that you lose, but there are other gains, that you are free, you are making the students free for exploring, go deeper in an intellectual level, the explorations of the contents. I really believe that this is something that we should offer, and the plurality of paths of becoming more intellectually profound, offering these paths is important for the students and valuable to our students.
Funny that you bring up student interest. I got some numbers for you. A poll from the Center of Information and Research reported that youth voting dropped 3% from 2020 to 2024, and it included 20% of the survey sample remarking that voting is no longer important to them, and 14% saying that they lacked proper background knowledge to make informed decisions. Do you believe that there is a crisis among younger people in regards to our lack of civic engagement, civic education, awareness of how America works, etc.?
Well, I think that these numbers is just an illustration of something that is worrisome, right? Every generation, the task of a generation is to pass to this following generation the values that brought us here, right? And how the society works, and the new generation absorbs these values, of course introduces new things, invent new technologies and all the new things, but they have to receive from the previous generation these values, this culture, because this is what make the system endure. I think that right now we are in a crisis exactly because we are not able to pass to this generation exactly these values. And a symptom of this is exactly what you described. I hope that a center like our could be helpful to reverse this trend. It's a tall order. It's very hard. But we have to attempt, and at least I would say that's in the direction of explaining and making the youth understand the values of the society that they live.
For listeners, I think we're about to be interrupted by the Daily Iowan, but we're going to continue this conversation on our YouTube page. For those unfamiliar, Christopher Rufo is a media personality, senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute and contributor at the Heritage Foundation. And he was a keynote speaker at your center's inaugural weekend.
Yes.
What is the center's relationship with Christopher Rufo, and what inspiration does the program draw from his advocacy, if any?
That's a very interesting question. We tried before inviting Chris Rufo, we tried another keynote speaker, but we couldn't make happen. And I have read Chris Rufo's book before, the bestseller book. And I liked it a lot. And I liked the information that he brought in his book. And we were able to connect to him, and he was available. And I think it was a just great choice, and he gave a great speech at the inaugural event. I have, and actually after that he also wrote a brilliant piece about our event. I'm very grateful for him, and I have no restriction on what he said. I think that he's just a brilliant guy.
Mm-hmm. A lot of Christopher Rufo's works is centered on academic freedom or cancel culture on university campuses and public schools. Looking at the University of Iowa, do you believe students feel safe to express minority opinions on this campus?
I think they do. Why would not they be? So actually, I think that the problem is exactly the opposite, right? And the thing about, you mentioned cancel culture. Mm-hmm. We have seen people trying to cancel thinkers that lived 200 years ago. And for me, it's just absurd. How can you... so you may think, do you think that you are wise enough to be able to judge not only yourself, but going back in time, 200 years, be in the position of the person that was living 200 years and judge them? Do you think that you have this capacity? I think at most, if you are wise enough, you would be capable of judging the people living right now. And to do this, you have to be extremely wise. And this is the thing that I don't see this very often. So to go back and cancel people living 200 years ago, I think that's just absurd.
But wait a minute. So you're saying that you don't believe that there's any sort of speech restrictions, either self-imposed or externally imposed, among students at the university?
There are restrictions that are imposed by the decisions by the Supreme Court. And if you take a course on the freedom of expression here in the University of Iowa, they explain very well. It's actually, the course was created by law professors here. And there are some restrictions on the freedom of expression. And I think that the university follows the law very well. I don't see any problem.
Well, okay, so then I guess I'm wondering, what's the necessity of the Center for Intellectual Freedom, since this does seem to be a bastion of free speech?
Well, I gave you the example at the beginning of the program. I wanted to offer a course as a faculty, and the course didn't even go to a survey to ask students if you'd be interested. As a result, until last semester, we didn't have a single course in the University of Iowa that would portray capitalism as something valuable to understand how it works and to defend, actually, its foundations.
I see. So you think it's more on an academic level.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is what the center comes to create and to offer.
Okay.
If I can play defense for the university, that is kind of the point of academic institutions. It's not necessarily to sponsor ideas, but to critically analyze them. So, I mean, for example, I'm in environmental courses, and a lot of our course subject time is dedicated to criticizing the environmental movement. And that doesn't mean it's anti-environmentalism. It just means it's the point of the course, is to critically analyze subjects. And by making a course that is explicitly pro a movement or ideology, isn't that anti the purpose of the university?
So the So you're talking about the course that exists now or the course that I proposed?
Well, you mentioned that the university doesn't offer any explicitly favorable views of capitalism in its courses.
Well, it offers a explicitly negative view. So if you are against positive view, then you should be against negative view. If you look at the catalog in the university, there are plenty of them that offer a negative view.
Even in the economics department?
Not in the
Tippie?
economic department, in the whole university. I'm talking about the whole university.
Okay.
You can go there and you are going to find. And then you think, okay, so if it's okay to offer negative, so even to have, the interesting thing that what I said about the freedom, right? The existence of the center does not preclude the students from taking these negative courses, right? It does not. So if you want to go to these courses, it's completely, it's still on the freedom of the students. However, if you want to understand why they work, why capitalism is so successful in the world, you have to find at least it would be good to have alternatives to find this. And let me just tell you one thing, and I mentioned, if you go back a few minutes in the interview, I said this. The system, it does not mean that the system is perfect. This means that because it's real, it exists in the real world, and it's full of problems. And one thing that we go, and actually when I teach microeconomics, when I teach microeconomics or teach economics, and I will go over the problems that exist in some market organizations. And when we go to market capitalism or the organizational capitalism in general, we're going to say, oh, this is something that does not work very well. And in the course itself, if you have a whole course, maybe a lecture would be too short to point out to this problem. But you're going to find those courses and to point out this is something that is not perfect. But it's better than things that exist just in the ideas, in the ideal world, in a fantasized world, where you propose something that cannot exist and cannot function in the real world. And one very interesting thing, of course, I'm talking about socialism, communism, right? The very interesting thing is that, this is better than capitalism. And when you try it, it proves worse. And they say, this is not what I meant. It's something else. And you never find an example where actually it was what they meant. And the reason for that is because it cannot work. So if you compare something that exists in the real world, and of course for this reason has problems, and you can analyze these problems, and you compare with the thing that exists just in the ideal world, if by definition it's perfect, then the only thing that you have to do is to point out, this cannot work. And this has been done by multiple intellectuals. And this is one of the things that I think that's really helpful for students to learn.
2 more questions. We'll split them.
All right.
What does success look like for the center 5 years from now?
That's a good question. Well, would like to have multiple faculties from different backgrounds, just not economics, but from political science, from law, from history, from philosophy. And this faculty would teach these courses with this mandate that we have in the bill, but creating these opportunities for the students. Perhaps we would like to have majors, minors, certificates, and offer one of the things that even if you go for another major, let's say in science, engineering, and in STEM fields, you could take a minor in our center, right? Because this could be a distinction in your CV. So we want to have faculty and have many courses that could offer not only minors certificates, but also majors. And this could be an alternative addition for students to get in their CVs. And I think that will be a valuable thing for the students of IO. I hope that you know that they realize that I have very much the well-being of the students of the university in the center, not only my mind and my thinking, but also in my heart.
Of course.
Kind of going off of that, I think you might have already answered this, but if you could just send a message to anyone listening or watching who's skeptical about this center, what would be the one takeaway from this interview that you would want them to consider?
Actually, I'm going to refer to something that I say in my classes. I say to my students, when they do not believe something that I say, challenge me. I welcome. And a lot of times the students don't believe me. But I'll repeat the same thing. If you don't believe, great, that is fantastic. So enroll in the course and come to see. One of the things that it came out in the Wall Street Journal article that came last weekend was exactly one student saying how enriching was the experience of the course, because it's thought-provoking and it invites students to think about things that they didn't think before. We want to create courses in this line, so it's great that you think that everything that I said is wrong. You don't believe a single word. Great, it's just fantastic. Enroll in the course and come to see. And prove me wrong.
Luciano, thank you for sharing your time and expertise with us today. Special thanks to Greg and Isaac behind the audio for writing up questions and doing some research for this interview. This has been a KRUI production. I'm Aman Hassan, and this is Lachlan, signing off. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.